Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. So in this video, I will show you how can you use local models along with your GitHub Copilot SDK. So there are local models which I have already downloaded using Foundry Local, and I want to use those models along with the GitHub Copilot to get the answers for the user's query. So if you will look at the broader picture, here we will be using GitHub Copilot as an orchestrator, and we will be using Foundry Local models for device inference. So if you are interested in this, stay with me, and if you are new to this particular topic, GitHub Copilot SDK, I would recommend you to check out my playlist in which I have already created 4 videos earlier. And there is a video, the very first video is all about how you can get started with GitHub Copilot SDK, how to set up the machine. So all these instructions are very useful if you really want to work with GitHub Copilot SDK. Now let's go ahead and check how we can use GitHub Copilot SDK as an orchestrator for our agent. I'm going to show you some code, and I have written everything in single file so that we need not to hop here and there. And there are many lines of code, but don't worry about it. Now the very first thing you need to do is, if you are following along with me, then you have to install OpenAI, you have to install Foundry Local, and you have to install Copilot SDK. So these are the things which has to be installed if you are following along. Now, as a scenario, what I'm taking here today is I'm having 4 different tools with me. So 3 tools I have written in plain Python, but in one tool I'm using a local model, or you can say LLM, which I have already taken on my machine using Foundry Local. And we will use GitHub Copilot SDK to decide which tool has to be invoked, and then depending on the tool's response, it will decide whether it needs to prettify the response or change the response to make it more usable or readable for the user. So this is the high level picture. Now again, if you are not sure how to get started with Foundry Local, do check out my previous video in which I have told every single thing which is required for you to get acquainted with this Foundry Local. Now let's get started here. The very first tool I'm creating is for local inference. What I'm doing here is I have created a class Foundry Local tool, and I'm planning to use this particular model, which is Quen. Now this model I have already used it and it is on my local machine, but in case if it is not there, don't worry, the system will automatically download it for you as soon as you will trigger the service. Now this is the model I'm using here, and then this is just to get started with the thing. So I'm saying take this model name and get my service started. So as soon as you will instantiate this particular class, it will go ahead and run the service, and if you will look at the URL, it would be something like localhost and the port number. Now the port number may differ for every one of you, but we need not to worry about that because everything we are fetching dynamically. So in my case, here is the endpoint. So whatever the endpoint or the port number, it will automatically get it from the manager instance, because manager instance is the one which is having the very first thing, or you can say the starting point of my Foundry Local. Now I'm having the manager which is going to hold everything about my Foundry Local. I'm having the model ID which I'm using. So this is the same model ID, but you cannot go with string. You have to use .id to fetch that ID. If you know what is that, you can also hard code it here, but let's not do that. Then we need to construct the client. So as Foundry Local is compatible with OpenAI API standards, so here we will be using OpenAI, and that's why I asked you to install OpenAI. So this is the OpenAI. I'm taking this as my endpoint. I'm taking this as a key. Now the key is completely optional. You don't need to specify the key, but if you want, you can just do it and it will just take some junk or maybe the empty value for this one. Now I'm having here the completion blocks. So here I'm saying use this model ID. This is my prompt, and for system prompt I'm saying you are an helpful assistant, keep it concise. And this is the prompt which tool will be receiving in later steps. and I'm returning this. So this is the only thing you need to make a call to your local model. Second tool I'm taking is for the calculator. Now, no need to get too much into this code. It's simple Python, and you may have your own function or the implementation for this. So these are the operations I'm allowing as part of this calculator. This is the function name here. And I'm just writing some evaluation statements and returning the final response of the calculation. Third tool I'm having is again very simple. It is JSON pretty. Just how you can prettify your JSON. So it is calling JSON dumps and setting up the intent and returning the result. That's it. And the fourth tool I'm taking here is to rewrite the text. So it will take the text, it will shorten it, it will add bullets, it will make it more formal. So again, these are the simple hard-coded things which I have done. And the reason why I'm doing this is I want to show you that your tool or the function could be anything, any code which you have written for your custom implementation. That's why if you will see here, these three tools are just the Python code. We are not doing anything different. But the first tool which I'm having here is using the LLM which I have, which is sitting locally on my machine. Now, these are the tools which I have defined. Next thing is I need to create a registry. I want to make a collection which will hold all these tools. So for that, I have created another class tool spec, and here I'm defining a build tools. So what I'm doing here is I'm defining the name, description of each of these tools, then the input schema. So input schema would be the type of the object. You need to define the properties of this, and then the required parameter if you have any. So like for the local Foundry, we need a prompt. For calculator, we need some expression what we are trying to evaluate. Here we need JSON text, and here is simply the text and the style. So these are the four tools which we have defined above. Next thing is we need to write the prompt for the router, because like I said, tools will not be automatically invoked. It would be decided by the GitHub Copilot SDK to like on which tool it has to be invoked. So for that, I'm constructing a prompt here. So for prompt, I need a list of tools, which means that tools name, description, and this input schema it wants. And then this is my routing controller's prompt. So what I'm doing here, I'm saying you are a tool routing controller. You have access to these tools in the form of JSON here. Pick exactly one tool and choose none if no tool is needed. So there may be a scenario wherein user is asking questions which are not suited for any of these tools. So in that case, I'm hoping this to go for none. And then I'm constructing this. So when we will run our application, we will get to know that why that particular tool was selected. So that's the reason I'm saying specify the reason here, the tool name, and the arguments if any. And these are the key rules which I have defined for my builder prompt. So I'm saying whenever some user is talking about the words local, offline, AI related, local, or on-device inference, choose local Foundry. If user is asking about evaluation or the calculation, go for the calculator. If it is about JSON, go for this. And if it's about shortening or formalizing the text, then go with the return or rewrite text. So otherwise, go for the none. So these are the basic rules we need to define so that it would help our Copilot to take a decision which tool is the best. And once all these are done, we are simply appending the user's actual prompt here. So what this function is doing, it will just build the prompt for the router. Now here comes the important part. So this is again another function which is to decide which prompt is very useful. Now for decision, like I said, we are relying on GitHub Copilot SDK. So definitely you will see something related to that here. So first of all, let's go ahead and construct the prompt based on the user input or the prompt and the list of tools. So we have the prompt here. Then we are passing that combined prompt to GitHub Copilot SDK, and that you can see using the session. So session is the one which we will be using with GitHub Copilot SDK to instantiate our session. And we are saying to GitHub Copilot SDK that take this prompt and execute it. Now what this prompt is, like I have already explained, this is the whole prompt. Now if everything went well, then it will return you the response. Otherwise you may see some errors here and there. Now, once everything is done, we don't want our Copilot to spit the response as it is, like whatever we are getting from the tool, we don't want to spit it as it is. We want to work a little bit more on that. So for that, we want another function, and that is finalize with tool. So what this particular thing is doing is it is constructing a final prompt, and this prompt will be used by our Copilot SDK. So I'm saying here you are an assistant, this is the user text, and this is what was decided, like the decision, router decision, the tool which was actually used. And once we have all this, now we are saying if tool output looks like an error, explain it, like what should be the next step. If tool output is present and valid, use it as a primary source and improve the clarity. So this is the part I was talking about. So don't just spit as it is, work on it a bit. And once this Copilot will receive that, it will work on it based on this given prompt. And here you can again see session.send and wait. It means that line number 247 will be executed by GitHub Copilot SDK. Now we have everything in place. Let's go ahead and write our final function, which is main. Now, the very first thing you need to do here is you need to get started with your Foundry Local service, and that you can do it using this. So in case if tool is not there or it's not downloaded, it will go ahead and do it for you. And by any chance, if it doesn't work, then you may have to explicitly write code to download the tool and run it. And if you don't know what all lines of code you need to write, do refer to my previous video in which I have already mentioned how you can download any model to your local machine and then load it. So like I said, in my case, everything is already downloaded, so I'm good to go with this one line. Okay, so Foundry is ready. List of tools is ready. Now we are instantiating our Copilot client. Let's get started. And then I'm saying that as a Copilot SDK, use GPT-5. Now you can use any model here which is supported by GitHub Copilot SDK. I'm going with just GPT-5, and these are simple print statement for the user. And here we are not doing anything fancy. We are asking user to enter some question, exit or quit if he wants to come out. And then I'm saying decide the route. Which model or which tool has to be invoked. Once the decision is taken, we will just grab the tool name or extract the tool name out of the decision. And then we will extract the arguments and the reason why the tool was selected. So these three will be printed on the screen. And here, next thing I'm doing, so now we have the tool's name. We are just invoking the Python function which we have written as a tool. So let me quickly run this application and show you how it works. So we will try with like 7 to 8 different prompts. So this application will take few seconds because it is setting up my Foundry Local resources. Let's give it few seconds and we should have it up and running. Because it is trying to see if the model is already available in my cache or not. So now you can see everything is done. These are the list of tools which we have mentioned, and let's say hi. Now when I am saying hi, I am not expecting any of those tools to be used. So here you can see the router decision was none because it is just a greeting message and no tools are required. So it means that whenever it is none, Copilot will go ahead and address that user's prompt by its own rather than indulging into any of those tools. Now I will ask another question. What to visit in Seattle? Let's add Washington as well. Oops, so there is a typo. But let's see. So here again you will see the decision is none because it is just a general travel advice. No specialized tools are required because we haven't defined any relevant tool for this one. But still you will get the response from the Copilot SDK. Now let me ask what is 2 plus 3. This time it should go ahead and invoke our tool, which is calculator. So here you can see router decision is calculator, and the reason why it is calculator is because user asked to evaluate a simple math expression. Perfect. Everything is good till now. Now let me try one more thing. Write this text in nicer way, and I would give text as I am sick to go to school, and I will also add this particular thing here. So this time also I am hoping it to go ahead and utilize my tools. So here you can see rewrite text is invoked, which is our tool, and user asked to rewrite a sentence in a nicer way. So nicer way to do this is I'm too sick to go to school. So in this way you can see that our second tool was also invoked. Now I will say tell me in one line why AI is harmful. So let's see what it will bring. Now this is the perfect choice in this case because it is just a simple question, and you need to go with any sort of tools which we have defined. It's a conceptual question about AI risk, and this would be your answer. So I will ask few more questions. So let me write something. I love to explore restaurants. Now I'm just giving a statement. I'm not asking any questions, so definitely I'm not expecting any of those tools to be invoked, and that's perfect. Router decision is none. We don't need any tools. It's a simple statement, personal statement, thinking like or mentioning like what I'm thinking, and here it is treating as a Copilot SDK. Perfect. Now I will ask two more questions and then we will wind it up. So next question would be, can you give me 2 key steps for fine-tuning any AI model? Okay, so can you give me 2 key steps for fine-tuning any AI model? So here you will see that I'm just talking about a general statement that how I can tune any AI model. So for that, again, there is no suitable thing. It's just a conceptual guidance about the AI, like fine-tuning. So here you will see that the decision is none. Now let me change the same question a little bit. Can you give me 2 key steps for fine-tuning my local AI model? Because there may be a model which I want to fine tune, and that model is already sitting on my local machine. So here you can see this time it picked the Foundry Local because this is the perfect question. Excuse me, this is the perfect question or the prompt which Foundry Local tool can handle. So here you can see the decision is Foundry Local, and reason is user explicitly mentioned local AI model, so route to Foundry Local. And here this time whatever the response you are getting is from the tool which we have mentioned. So here it is saying the tool output was unclear. So here are the 2 clear steps. This is what the output is. So you have seen that how quickly and nicely it is orchestrating the user prompts so that it redirects to the correct tool. And I hope you got an idea how we can utilize GitHub Copilot SDK for orchestration purpose, but still we can use our local Foundry models to execute our requests. So in that case, let's say if you are running very expensive queries, or if you are working on some data sensitive operations which you don't want to execute on the cloud, then in that case this flow would be the perfect fit, because whatever the sensitive information we are having, whatever the LLM calls we are making, all those are happening locally using the Foundry Local models. So do let me know what do you think about this new feature, and I will come up with another great video soon. Thanks for watching.